Go and sit. Okay, we're just waiting for the video streams to come through. Okay, there we go. We seem to be live. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've got your coffees ready. I definitely have. We'd like to welcome back Carel. That's going to help us with our next session. The next webinar is again about 30-40 minutes, and then this is the second one for our online conference. And without me wasting any time, you guys, again, please get involved with the comments. We've got a couple of polls, and I look forward to this session. I'll be moderating again in the background. I just quickly need to reset something here. There we go. And yeah, so let me not take up too much time. I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Eugene. I want to start with a saying of Mahatma Gandhi. And I think what is very important is that we listen to the words very carefully. So he said, your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your action. Your actions become your habits. And then your habits becomes your values. And your values leads to your destination. Putting all of this together, that is what's forming our paradigm. So I'm Carel Potgieter. Background, I am a coach. I am a business consultant. 50% of my business consists out of consulting businesses, help them turn around, help them grow. I've done about hundreds of businesses in my life, which I turned around. To say, I also failed one or two of my own businesses, so I learned the hard way. I was in corporate sector, entrepreneur, and I am an entrepreneur at this moment in time. So my topic today is the role the mind plays in entrepreneurship. But before I get there, hi, Dario, Lucky, Joy, Peter, thanks for attending. It's good to see you guys. Some of you guys I've seen in the session yesterday. So I somehow want to start with a poll. And the first poll is about a question that I want to ask you. And that is, do you think the mind plays a role in entrepreneurship? Do you think the mind plays a role in entrepreneurship? Wow. Everybody agrees, 100%. Good. Okay, so I want to start again just with EQ, and as I call it, emotional skills. Because of the simple fact, which has been found and proven in research, is that emotions drive people, and people drive results. Now, if you look at the graph in front of you there, you will see on the left-hand side are the EQ scores, and at the bottom is the performance scores. And the purpose of this graph is to show you that there are a direct link on how the higher the EQ of people, the better the performance are. And you can see that from that cluster. So, and this research was done in 2013 across 127 countries. And there was 100,000 people who participated in that. So there's absolute proof, and it was confirmed again in 2017. 100% proof that our mind, because emotions is actually coming from our mind. Now, yesterday I referred to this. I just want to go back to this because this is the output. This is what determines our success. And that has also been tested across the world. Now, if you look at the left-hand side again, that's the personal side, and that is well-being. So I just want to spend a little bit more time today on those success factors. And the first is well-being, and we can define well-being as the capacity to create true happiness from a life well lived. Now, that can be broken up into two very specific areas. How do you live your life well? And first is have a balance. You must be able to prioritize. And how many times do we spend time on things that really doesn't make a difference in our lives or the difference in lives of other people? How much time are we wasting? And then how much time are we wasting on stressing? And I think it's very relevant at the moment in the COVID side. And we get absolutely fallen into the trap of stress, which then can convert in anxiety. And then health. Health, we can define as the capacity to maintain optimal physical energy and functioning. Now, if you have energy, you can do a lot. And that's when people are sitting on the couches without energy, that nothing happens. And we'll get back to that statement. On the bottom side there, we've got the quality of life, which is the capacity to generate true happiness from a life well lived. And what is that happiness? Are you achieving? Do you have the capability to reach your goals, to accomplish meaningful goals? And then satisfaction. And that is the capacity to understand and feel the appreciation for your life and for your efforts. On the other side, which is also very relevant in sales specifically, and show me an entrepreneur who can't sell, and the entrepreneur's business will not function. So, and that starts with the relationships, which I can define as the capacity to build and maintain strong interpersonal connections. How do you connect one person to the other? 2 points. Network is your capacity to build multiple relationships, and to create an alliance which supports and maintain the growth of your business. On the community side is the capacity to maintain mutual caring connections, because customers want to see that you care for them. Because why do we do business? To make money? No. The result is money. That's a scorecard. But if we can address the problems of our customers, they will actually start working more and more with us, buy more from us, and the scorecard will be the income statement, which shows the profits we make. Lastly, at the bottom, effectiveness. And that is the capacity to generate positive results. And what are positive results for the entrepreneur? Happiness, creating a business, growing a business. And I'm going to deviate just a little bit here. You know what? There's a big difference in my mind about an entrepreneur and a self-employed person. A self-employed person is not necessarily an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is the person that can take a business, grow a business, and multiply. And then move on. Where a person which is self-employed do have some of the elements of an entrepreneur, but not all of it. So, to be an effective entrepreneur, you must be able to make decisions. You must be able to, in very difficult times, being able to calm yourself down, to be aware, and to make decisions. And I think Eugene yesterday said, an entrepreneur is like you jump off a cliff, and while you're in the air, you start building the plane. And while you're building the plane, you find that some stuff is not working, and you have to change here, and you have to change there, and eventually you have to even learn still to fly the plane, and then you fly. Well, I really agree. That is an entrepreneur. But that's based on the decisions and capacity for effective decision-making you have. And then the last point there is influence. Guys, and John Maxwell, I don't know whether anybody knows John Maxwell, the well-known leader in the industry of leadership. And I had the privilege to study with John. He says leadership is all about influence. Entrepreneurship sales is all about influence. How well can you motivate other people to grow in their own lives and then to be a constant follower of yourself? And that is the success which we as entrepreneurs want to get to. And that's where our mind plays a big, big role. So if I can ask you to look at the question 2 there, the poll 2, and I want you to ask absolutely honestly, did you ever make the decision and afterwards did not understand why you made such a decision and say, oh, why did I do this? Wow, 80% says yes, 1% never had that experience. Wow, that's great. I wish I never had that experience. I had that experience so many times in my life. So why does that happen? And I'm not going to spend time on this today. I spent a lot of time on this yesterday, but I just want to show you what is the principle, again, of emotional intelligence. So the principles there is very simple. 3 areas. Do you know yourself? And I'm going to spend more time later in the presentation of self-knowledge, self-awareness. And if you know yourself, do you know what you can do with that? Do you choose what you do and are not on autopilot? And then lastly, but very importantly, and this is a circle, it always turns in a circle and the one feeds the other, is give yourself, chase that noble goal, why you do exist. There's a very well-known person, a psychologist, Dr. Travis Bradbury, who explained in his book, Why You Need EQ or Emotional Intelligence. He said that research proved that individuals with average IQs, 70% of the time, outperform the high IQ guys if they've got high EQ. And let's go back, have high emotional skills, which can be developed at any time of your life. And it is a process of constant development. Sorry, guys. Now, for some reason, just as it. Okay. All right. Most of, I won't say most, but in context of its science, uses most of the energy. And remember, I focused on energy that we generate through our body. Everything that we eat, everything we take into the body, everything we drink, have an effect of the brain, the healthy brain. Now, if we look at the brain here, there was a speaker yesterday who discussed the brain, and I just want to refer to this very, very quickly. There's 3 areas of the brain. The brain is a very complex organ, but to make it easy for all of us, let's look at the limbic system, or the stem of the primitive brain, the limbic system, and then the executive center of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex or the neocortex, with the prefrontal cortex, the control center. So what happens while we are in a situation, every situation we are in, we are functioning, and then something happens, like COVID-19, which triggers the amygdala. This amygdala starts shouting at us, you need to run for the hills, or you need to fight, or you freeze. Now, the principle here is all of that is generated by emotions. We have the transport then sending that signal through to the control center, the thinking brain. And that is when, if we can grab that and we can use that thinking brain to think exactly what is the message we're receiving, we can make decisions which is well-informed decisions, and that serves us better. But what's happening with lots of people is you get that trigger, the amygdala says, let's run for the hills. It starts running and you don't think. And you cut that transport off. And that is exactly, in short, what is happening. And that's what we don't want to happen. We want to Get the stimulus there. Doesn't matter whether the emotion is an emotion of negativity, an emotion that's positive. We want to take that emotion into the brain. So when that happens, the amygdala releases different hormones into the body. If it's a negative, if I can call it negative feeling, it releases cortisol. And when it releases cortisol and the brain doesn't intervene, the body just starts going into action and you're on autopilot. And that's not where we want to be. We want to be in control of ourselves. We want to leave the control in the hands of our executive center. So, question 3, next poll is, were you ever confronted with an idea which caused great discomfort for you, and then you eventually did not go through with that specific idea? So, some people planted an idea, or you were thinking, and you start feeling very uncomfortable, very excited. Then uncomfort comes in, and whoop, you start running, and you don't do it. And I see 100% of people say, yes. Well, good news, you're not unique. You're not unique. It's happening to all people in the world. I would have been interested to see, no, never. That would have been a great answer, which I would like to debate or talk to the person who would answer like that. So let's go to this diagram and let's look at this drawing. Now, this drawing is us, the man, you. Now, if we look at us, here's our conscious mind, the thoughts. This is where we can think. And unfortunately, I didn't put a poll in, but I want to ask you to ask yourself, and be honest with yourself here, do you really think? Do you really take time to think? Do you really use your thinking mind? Do you spend time on thinking? Unfortunately, at school, at university, college, nobody teaches us how to think. Critical thinking. Here, the next component of the human being is the subconscious mind, feelings. And so, by the way, this is a diagram that gets used by the well-known Bob Proctor, and I just put a little bit of slant on this to make it more practical. If you look on this side, the subconscious mind, the feelings. When we are born without a conscious mind. The brain is there, but it's full, it's empty. The subconscious mind is empty. From the moment we get born, we started feeding. The environment feeds. Our senses, hear, see, smell, touch, taste, feeds specific aspects, feelings into the subconscious mind. So there is our programming start. Our mother, our father, our brothers, our sisters, the teachers, uncles, aunts, they all start programming us there. And then this is actually, the mind leads to actions, influences the body. So if we look at the thinking mind can be critical. It can accept, reject, and originate ideas. So this is really where we can play with ideas. And that's why I was asking you the question, do you make time for this beautiful tool, this absolute, it's the most impressive tool, the brain, and especially the thinking mind, to utilize it to your benefit as an entrepreneur? Or are we running so much on stress and feelings and running in our daily tasks that we really don't make time to critically think? And I think that is one of the opportunities that COVID is giving us, is to sit back and think about our business and think about our future. It also contains the intellectual factors. That's where the IQ is sitting. imagination, intuition, reason, will, memory, perception. Now, what happens at school, and I'm a critic of the school system. I'm also a product of it. But we get taught how to take a lot of information, read the books, study it, file it into that brain of ours, and then we go back. The teacher asks us a question, and we repeat what we memorized. Is that thinking? Is that thinking? We become very good at memorizing things. And yeah, it's good. We need that. However, we also need to be able to apply that knowledge. And so the question is, people say knowledge is power. And I'm so sure that knowledge is not power. And I know I might be controversial. But applied knowledge is power. If you can apply the knowledge, then it's powerful. So how do you program that? Pure repetition. Tony Robbins says, repetition is the mother of all skills. And that is how you program that. If we go to the subconscious mind, that's the emotional mind. We've spoken a lot about emotional intelligence, and that's where emotional skills sits. This is from there where you can actually manage the emotional skills. That works, it works purely on feelings. And the problem is that mind can't make decisions. It can't reject or accept. It just accept or not reject. It just accept all information you pump into it. And it sits there and it becomes a reference framework, a framework of reference. And that controls the vibration of the body, because this entire body is energy. It's energy, it's huge energy that's vibrating all the time. And that vibration is controlled by the subconscious mind. And then there's the body, which is the doing side. And it will do what the brain and the subconscious mind tells the body. Now, if we look at all of these together, as you develop from the date of birth up until 25, and some people say 30, and there's a lot of controversy, but let's say plus minus 30 years old, you develop what we call the personality. And this is who you are. And the question is, do you know your personality? Well, I've done a lot of personality assessments, and probably you as well. However, I am utilizing the Enneagram, which shows the different combinations of 9 personality types. And since I know that very well, I know why I do what I do, and I can adapt that. Cannot change my personality, but I can use my personality's light side to always, because in anything in life, there's always a bright side, there's a dark side. So is it with personality. There's the bright side, and there's the dark side. And I learn how to use my bright side to address the dark side. So let's get to the crux of the matter now. And that is, we will find that as we sit here today, lots of people out there are full of fear. And COVID actually surfaced it. I think personally we give too much credit to COVID, to creating the fear. I think for the first time in our lives, we had time to be locked up and really start reflecting. And that's why we generate so much fear. For the first time, we can see what we're doing. The first time we can see what we're not doing. And that's probably creating that fear more than COVID. Is tomorrow going to be the same? Definitely not. Is COVID the reason for that? I say no. COVID's not the reason. The world was changing. All that COVID showed us is that it's now changing quicker, faster. But we were on that treadmill, changing. The 4th Industrial Revolution, I can't remember, I think Donnie or somebody spoken about that this morning. That is actually what's changing our lives. But all we did before COVID, we ignored that uncomfortable challenge that was posed, or opportunity actually, that was posed by the 4th Industrial Revolution. Why? Because we are sitting here in bondage, in our comfort zone, and it's lacquer. We get our money, we're okay. We're very, very much just in a paradigm which says we are comfortable. Now, suddenly, and that is happening specifically now during COVID, because everybody tells us, everywhere you listen, everywhere, the world is not going to be the same. Well, yes, it's not going to be the same. But is it necessarily because of COVID? Oh, I don't necessarily think it's 100% the reason. It was changing already. It's just now changing quicker. So we get that outside idea, which is an why idea, while we are programmed with the X idea. You attend a seminar like this, or you read a book, or something happens, you say, it will be actually good if I do this. Not a bad idea. Oh, wow, excitement. Wow, this can make a huge difference. And now I start thinking about it. And when it's New Year, that's when New Year's resolutions falls in. Hey, great idea. Wow. Going to exercise, going to the gym. Hey, great stuff. And then I need to give it to this. Okay. And I'm comfortable still. It's like because I'm excited now. So there's emotions. It's all emotions now, running emotions of excitement. And then I said, well, you know what? I need now to really start working with this because I'm making commitments that I'm going to make a change. And now you start worrying. So, say it goes wrong. Doubt. What is now? Different emotions. How do I work with their emotions? Now remember, the train, if I am not the train from the amygdala to the conscious mind, the executive center, if I don't grab that train and let not get into my body, into actions and to kick against this change, I will not go a step further. I will go back there. So now some of us and some people get into an entrepreneur said, and fear, just say it doesn't work. So you know what, I want to franchise my business, but I am actually working in the business. I am the technician of the business. If I'm not in the business will not work. How do I multiply? And now eventually, if we're not careful, the entire body goes into shock, anxiety. And that's where you start counting sheep at night. That's where you start feeling that real pain in the tummy. That's where ulcers coming from. And now you say, you know what? Is that change worthwhile? And this little person here on your shoulder, I called mine Tokolosh, talks to you, starts talking. And in the people call it the superego. Say, but Carel, be very careful here. Be careful. You know what? The risks. And then I said, oh, you know what? Let me go back there. Okay. I'm in my comfort zone. Everything is cool. But is anything changing? Am I growing? Am I growing my business? What is now happening in COVID? I am telling you, we're going to see a lot of anxiety coming forward. Going to see depression coming. Because now I cannot afford to fall back there. Because my business will not survive. Simple as that. So what do? I have no other choice but to break that terror barrier. I cannot afford to bounce back. So I have to break through anxiety to come back to what we call freedom. So I need to develop for myself a new paradigm. Easier said than done. Lots of people can tell you what I've told you today. Practically, how do I do it? How do I do that? That brings me to this graph. Because we've got patterns, which includes our actions, our thoughts, our feelings, remember the little man, the stick man, our emotions, thoughts, and actions all influence us. And they influence each other. And this is not a linear process, unfortunately. So you can't just jump into a specific area of the process. That's not going to work. So the question is, I have 7 steps that I tried myself. 2008, I went through a huge, tremendous challenge in my life, where I close by lost everything. And I had to sort this out. And from 2008, I made it my life to study the brain, to understand this, to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So very important, I had to first start knowing and understanding myself. So step 1 is understand and know yourself. Understand what your personality is. Understand the dark side and the light side of your personality, and understand how you can use it. Secondly, very, very important, understand your emotions. Understand how to work with your emotions to your benefit. With other words, and if you can use those 2, now you can start working with the mind. Next, identify what you need to change in life or your business. Step 3, sit and think it through properly. Quality time, quality thinking. Don't think while you watch TV. Make time for critical thinking. I like to meditate and then think with a clean mind. Now, after you've planned your change, you implement your change. Do small little implementations so that you can fail. If you fail, you fail fast. And then because you can quickly rectify. Very important, monitor your progress. Measure what you do. Measure the outcome. Reflect on that outcome. Make changes and go into the next cycle of change. Do it step by step. Eat the chocolate elephant portion, piece by piece. So you go through that cycle. So if we go back to the slide, because this is where everything starts and continues until the day you die, is how do I use this little man, which can cause us so much harm if we don't work with it, control that, work with it. And I am saying, beware. Don't try and suppress it. You're not strong enough. Suppression of this leads to huge problems going forward. Firstly, acknowledge it. It's there. Listen to it. And then start thinking about it and work with it. Work with that little person sitting here talking into your ear. Recognize it. There's a well-known American writer, Robert Heinlein. He said, in absence of clearly defined goals. So what we need to do is we need to define goals for our business, goals for our self, our life. So in the absence of clear goals for your personal life and for your business, you become strongly loyal to perform daily trivial tasks, which is just a waste of time. And eventually you become enslaved by it. Taking this WhatsApp all the time, going on to LinkedIn all the time, going on to Facebook all the time. How much time does this take of us? Great tool, but we can be enslaved. And instead of focusing on our business and our entrepreneur, because it gives us that left-hand side comfort, we're back in the comfort zone on the couch. So, my offer of yesterday stands. I'm prepared to anybody who's attending their seminar, your family, your friends, anybody that you know, that I will help you to discover yourself from an emotional skills perspective, the first step. I'm prepared to offer you the assessment and then the report, as you can see in front of you, to be able to understand yourself better from an emotional side. and then to take you through a debriefing coaching session for about 20 minutes, also for free, so that you can first understand yourself. And you will see the difference in your lives. You will be able to tackle COVID. I promise you. I guarantee you. And I want to end off with a saying of Joseph Campbell, which is an American professor known for the theory in the field of comparative mythology. He said, and I want us to listen very carefully to that. The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure that we seek. The cave after COVID that we need to enter, that holds the treasure of what we really seek. But we can only get that treasure if we know who we are and what we're going to do and how to bring the two together. Thank you from my side. It was great talking to you guys, and hopefully there's something that you can take away from this session. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Carel. Great message there. And thank you for everyone for participating in the polls and the chats. I see it's been quite dynamic. So we're nice and on time at 2 o'clock, just 2:40. So we're going to take a quick 20-minute break, and then the last session is up. I'm very chuffed to say that I'm the last speaker, so I'll close off the conference. The topic that I'm going to talk about is going to be the big picture of modern day marketing. It's a very practical webinar, and it's very aimed at businesses that are looking to now market and advertise. It's been a cornerstone session for me for the last 2 years, presented it many times, and we're doing a quick half-an-hour session on it starting at 3 o'clock. So again, Carel, thank you very much for your session. Thank you guys for getting involved, and I will see you at 3 o'clock. Like always, after this session, you'll be pointed to the register room and just register for the next one. I'll see you guys at 3 o'clock for our last session of this online conference. Thanks, everyone. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Carel.
Cheers.